Welcome everyone to our Educator Innovator webinar, Great Tools for Production-Centered Design. Thank you for joining us today. And my name is Kelly Mendoza. I manage professional development program at Common Sense Media. And I'm really excited that you've joined us today. We have a great team of presenters to talk about great tools for production-centered design. So let's go ahead and get started. I first want to direct you, if you're not watching already, which kind of is impossible, but to join us, and this is maybe kind of hard to see, on the Educator Innovator, let me see here, blog, which is blog.nwp.org/Educator Innovator. And there should be a panel on the right where you can join the chat and join the conversation. So we have three wonderful presenters with us today, and I'm first going to start sort of from left to right. The first is Andrea Zellner. Hello, Andrea.
Hello.
Andrea is a doctoral student at Michigan State University, and her research focuses on peer feedback and writing achievement. Andrea is also a reviewer on Graphite, which is the tool that we'll be introducing you to today if you aren't already familiar with it. And she's going to show you how she's used Hackosaurus, Prezi, and VoiceThread in it aligned with production-centered design. Next is Erin Wilkie-O. Hello, Erin. Hello. Erin is senior editor of education reviews at Common Sense Media, and not long ago she was teaching English at Schlegel High School in Kansas City, Kansas, which was a district that had a one-to-one laptop program. She was also a teacher consultant with Greater Kansas City Writing Project, focusing on their ELL and EdTech programs. And what Erin is going to talk to you about is Common Sense Media's new tool, Graphite, which you can find at graphite.org. And it's a new service from Common Sense Media that provides rigorous ratings and reviews of apps, websites, games, and digital curricula. And she'll explain how the assessment rubric in Graphite values products that are with design principles of connected learning. And if you're not familiar, just at a side note, with Common Sense Media, we're a nonprofit, and our mission is to aim to provide the resources for families and educators to help kids thrive in a world of media and technology. So Graphite we're actually launching it this week. It's really exciting, and so we encourage you to check that out, and we'll be sharing some links in the chat. And lastly, we have Joe Dillon. Hello, Joe.
Hello.
Joe is an instructional coordinator for educational technology at Aurora Public Schools in Colorado. In a large urban district, Joe works with teachers and instructional coaches, supporting the use of digital tools in the classroom and for professional learning. And Joe is also a reviewer on Graphite, and he's going to show you some of the great production tools that he's used, or even some of them he's reviewed, including Pixton, Animoto, and Minecraft. So before we get started, I'd like to give a special welcome to educators joining us from the Educator Innovator Network. And if you're new to the network, I just want to tell you a little bit about that. It provides an online meetup for those who are reimagining learning. And Educator Innovator is both a blog and a network of educators, partners, and supporters. And if we want to educate a generation of young people to be innovators, that is to create and design and build and collaborate and share their talents, then we really need to create capacity in the mentors and teachers who support them. So that's where we are now. So thanks again to Educator Innovator for putting together this session today. So I want to move on to today's program. And let me start by sort of taking a step back and looking at the features, the principles of connected learning. So connected learning builds on interest-driven, peer-supported, and academically relevant learning. And it focuses on three areas. And so we'll be taking a deep dive into one of those areas. But the first design principle is shared purpose. And that means connecting adults and peers in a shared interest and a common purpose to work together. The second is that it's openly networked, which refers to environments that link together groups across various sectors to circulate knowledge and create community. And then finally, it's production-centered, which means that it focuses on production and tools for learners to create, experiment, remix. All of these skills are skills for lifelong learning, and it's the production-centered principle that we're focusing on today. So before we get started with diving into Graphite, I just want to say that alongside the page that you can chat on or follow the chat on, if you're on Twitter, let me see. Sometimes I do things low tech and sometimes I do it high tech. You can follow the tweet chat at hashtag NWP, hashtag Make Summer, and then our hashtag for Graphite is hashtag Appy Hour. So you can also tweet along or do some tweet chat and share what are great production-centered tools that you're using, or how are you using these tools in the classroom, and really join the conversation. So we're first going to start with Erin, who will tell you about Common Sense Media's new service called Graphite that I introduced to you, and we're actually have been in beta the past couple of months, and we're officially launching the site this week, so we're really excited to share it with you. And she's going to share with you how the assessment rubric values products with principles of connected learning. So take it away, Erin.
Great. Thanks, Kelly. So yes, I'm one of the editors on the new project, graphite.org, and I'm going to give you a very quick tour of the site and then talk a little bit about how we do the ratings at Graphite and how that can surface tools that really highlight the principles of connected learning. So what we have here, this is graphite.org, and as Kelly said, it is a site for teachers, by teachers, and its purpose is to provide ratings and reviews of the best apps, games, websites, and digital curricula for learning. So there are multiple ways you can use Graphite. One is just for discovering these new tools, and you can do that by searching the site's reviews. So we have a team of expert educators, Andrea and Joe are two of them, who use a rubric that our research team developed to rate and review the products. And so you can search these reviews with the filters at the top of the page by content area, grade level, by the type of product that it is. Or you can also take a look at some curated lists that the editors create. So I'm one of the editors. We create some curations to help teachers navigate the reviews because we're continually adding reviews. Besides the search tools, this can be another way to find great products to use in your classroom. Another really fantastic feature about Graphite is that it is a community and it allows for some crowdsourcing and some sharing of best practice. And so when you open up a review such as this one, this is DragonBox Plus, the app, you'll see the main feature is our review done by the expert educators using our rubric. But as a member of the site, which is free to join, anyone can join, you are invited to add what we call field notes, which are your own reviews of the product. So let's say you've used DragonBox in the classroom. You can come over and add a field note and share how you've used it and share ideas for using it in the classroom, give it your own rating. And so we have this sort of crowdsourced rating that stands directly next to our rating. So you'll see DragonBox Plus, you'll see the learning rating from us is 5, and the teacher rating averages a 4. So that's another fantastic way to use Graphite. And a third feature I just quickly want to show you is what we call boards. And any member of the site is welcome to curate their own boards. So essentially like a pin board. You go through, you find products that you maybe want to use. Here's one called Favorite Physics Stuff. And you can just pin these reviews to your board, something you might share with colleagues, with students, something just for your own reference. So it's another fantastic way to use Graphite. So very quickly, moving back to the purpose of the webinar today, I just want to set the stage a little bit and talk about how we're doing our ratings and how that connects to this idea of connected learning. So as I said, we have the rubric that was developed by our research team, and we look at 3 overarching dimensions, and those are engagement, pedagogy, and support. So when you look at a Graphite review, you'll see that the rating is broken down into those 3 areas, and you'll have some description of how the reviewer thought about those areas in terms of the product that they're reviewing. And so with connected learning, as Kelly was saying, we have these 3 overarching principles. The idea of it being production-centered, learning being a shared purpose for learning, and also openly networked, which she's gone over. I won't go over these. So this sort of outlines those design principles, learning principles, and the core values of connected learning.
Erin, are you showing us something? Because if you are, I'm not seeing it. I just want to jump in.
Oh, you're not seeing any slides.
I think you may have to press screen share again and try sharing.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. So maybe try screen sharing again. There we go.
Sure. Were you able to see the Graphite, the website, as I went
Yes.
through that?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I was just going to take us through the 3 different, I'll leave it on this view mode, so I apologize. Let's see, actually. Are you seeing a full slide now?
No, because it doesn't show presentation mode, so we can just view from here.
Interesting. Okay. So the 3 different dimensions here of the Graphite ratings, as I was saying, engagement, pedagogy, and support. And I just wanted to draw some connections to show how those, looking at rating those 3 dimensions can surface products that uphold those principles of connected learning. So for example, when we look at engagement, we're looking at if it's engrossing for kids, is it replayable? And I think often when we're finding products that score high in engagement, it's because they are interest powered. So they connect to how the things students are into, what kids are into. They're going to be more engaged. When we look at pedagogy, we are looking at a lot of different areas. We're looking at whether the product helps kids build concepts, whether it's getting into depth in the content areas, and that often supports that more academically oriented products. Are the skills transferring to other areas of kids' lives? Again, that goes back to the idea of interest-powered learning. Are they empowering? When we find something that's very empowering, it often is because students are able to create. They can make media. They can produce something and have something to show for their learning, which relates to production-centered tools, which is the focus of today's webinar. And also we look at the idea of whether or not the tool has social elements to it. And that relates to, in connected learning, the idea of learning with a shared purpose. And the 3rd dimension we look at is support. And so does the tool have supports for adults and for learners? The adults that are supporting the kids. And again, relating to the idea of openly networked, going across different spaces where kids and adults are learning together. Does the tool have extensions for learning? And does it cater to different learners? So these are all things we look at when we are rating and reviewing the products. And I think that what we have found is that they do surface a lot of products that are that uphold these values and principles of connected learning. So for today, our focus is on just one of the principles, which is production-centered. And we, in fact, have a list curated by our editors at Graphite that is highly rated production-centered tools. And so this is where Joe and Andrea are going to be focused for the rest of the webinar. And so I will end my screen share and pass it back to you guys.
All right, thanks so much, Erin. That was really great to see the rubric and then the clear connections to connected learning. I really loved how you laid that out. And made those connections, no pun intended, but I had to do it. So made the connections to connected learning. So what Erin showed at the very end was one of our top picks list called Best Tech Creation Tools. And look in the chat box to get a link to those tools. But that's what we'll be talking about today. And the great thing is when you go into that list, all of the tools we're talking about are in that list. So that's kind of your go-to spot to learn more. So we're going to start with Joe, who is going to share with us 3 production-centered tools, Pixton, Animoto, and Minecraft. And he's just going to share us a little bit about a quick demo of the tool, maybe weave in a little bit of his rating or his thoughts on the tool, strengths and weaknesses, and then describe ways that you could actually use this tool for production-centered learning. So take it away, Joe.
Okay. Yeah, in preparing for today, it was great. It was a great opportunity for me to talk with some teachers that I work with regularly about the tools they use in their classroom and also get their take on why they value these tools. And in the conversations with those teachers, for me, a lot of the connected learning principles surfaced. Certainly production-centered. Everything I'll show you, Pixton, Animoto, and Minecraft are all production-centered tools. I also think that what we see in all these tools is a level of appealing to students' interests. And so I'll start with the first one, and I'll try my screen share. So please holler at me if my screen share is not working, because I'll just keep on talking as if it is, absent any help from you guys. So the first thing I want to just share is, so here's a look at the Pixton homepage, and so a teacher in my school district, Laurel Larchick, is really passionate about providing students access to Pixton in her computer lab, where they really extend the learning from different content areas. And one of the things that she talks about is how this, obviously students bring a level of interest into creating comics, and they also bring a level of interest into creating comics through digital means. And so when she talks about how she uses this tool, a lot of times it's for students to represent what they've learned in a novel way, and even to give them access to things like, to a genre like graphic novels that doesn't otherwise feel perhaps accessible to students. So that was great for me to hear about how a teacher in the classroom is thinking through both interest-driven and production-centered. And so I'd like to share just some screenshots now. Here's an example of students representing something they'd learned. They had to present a fact using a comic strip, and so I won't read through this comic strip, but what you can see is just a creative representation of a story here where 2 kids go back in time and encounter a T-Rex, and they're presenting facts about the dinosaur they encounter. And then at the end, they return in a time machine. And so you can see that the students likely had a great time presenting these facts. And again, it's a tool that, because Laurel works at a K through 8, this is an accessible tool that students probably as young as 2nd grade can use. So here's a second one where a student had to represent a story with using only pictures and no words. And this is the story of a man stuck on a desert island. And then the final example I'll share is about Pixton, is an assignment where the students had to remix a commercial in a comic strip. And so in this case, a student had chosen to remix this commercial about Red Bull giving you wings. So there are a few different opportunities for a few different ways a teacher might approach that. Whoops, here we go with my screen share. Yeah, so a few different ways that a computer lab teacher invites teachers and students to extend the learning from the traditional classroom into the computer lab, represent their learning in a creative way that is production-centered. So that's Pixton, and I'll just transition to Animoto. So I'm going to be really good at screen sharing by the end of this. So what I'll show you now is something that Jennifer Yaswa from my district shared, and she works with gifted and talented students and the teachers of gifted and talented students in my district. And so she is really passionate about using Animoto with students, and she shared with me an Animoto that she's created where she shares her own interest in painting. So a little bit about Animoto. It's a web-based software where you're able to integrate images, videos, text, music, and sound. And it's accessible for free if you want to produce really short videos. And then for kind of with a sliding scale, I think they allow you to create more videos and longer videos. But the free tool certainly is enough for teachers and students to tinker with Animoto and represent things in shorter videos. So back to Jennifer's integration of this. What she really asks students to do, particularly what she was explaining to me was, with gifted and talented learners, so often they'll produce volumes and volumes of text to tell a story or to relate, for example, an essay. So getting them to put words on a page is not usually a challenge. What she wants to do is challenge them to think in terms of mixing other media in. And so she often restricts the amount of words they can use, and actually this tool does, restricts the amount of words they can use, and encourages them to incorporate images, sound and songs, as well as videos they've created. So I hope this works. I'm going to just play full screen kind of the tail end of what Jennifer presents to students to invite them to tell their own stories. So this is how one educator shares her stories with students through Animoto.
Singing, how do you do? They really say, I love you. I hear babies cry and I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than we'll know, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Okay, so what you see there, I think that's a great example of kind of encouraging students to represent their learning in creative ways. And it's also evidence of connected learning being cross-generational and peer-supported. So when Jennifer shares her own passions for art and shares her story as a painter, she encourages students to share their own passions and also represent their own story in a creative way. So that's something that she works really hard to share with other teachers in my district. And then my final tool I'll talk about is Minecraft. And Minecraft, one of the things I'm excited about with Minecraft is it's a really popular sandbox game. And by sandbox game, I mean that students enter into this game and they don't have to follow a particular narrative in the game. They don't have to try to necessarily defeat a villain. In fact, so often students play Minecraft just to build things and to create and collaborate, which I think I'll demonstrate a little bit. But the thing about Minecraft that's really interesting is that it's the one that's probably most likely to encroach on a teacher's classroom without the teacher necessarily planning for it. It's the kind of thing where if students are left to their own devices on computers, they'll often jump in and teachers will find that students are already in Minecraft and they're already collaborating in this space. And so little things I can share here. Are you seeing this?
Yep, we're seeing it.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, so this is the launch screen of Minecraft, and what you see here is that students can play single player or they can play multiplayer. And so one of the fascinating things about Minecraft is that there is a way to play a survival version where the idea is to mine resources and then build structures. And every night, nights are a little more dangerous than the day. And so the idea is you build a structure that is strong enough to help you survive through the night because you're at risk of attack from monsters when you play in survival version. But when you play creative version, there's no risk of danger from monsters, and students often create amazing things. Actually, not just students and adults, kids and adults alike, create amazing things in Minecraft because it's like collaborative virtual Legos. If I'm going to try to, quickly describe what it is, that probably doesn't synopsize it perfectly well. But I want to share now some pictures we've taken. One of the things we did last year was we led a design challenge where students who are unfamiliar in Minecraft, what we did was we dropped them into a Minecraft server, and you can see it's a three-dimensional virtual world. And these empty boxes, we encourage students to run and find their own empty box, and then they had 40 minutes to build a structure, and then together as a group, we built a village. And so that was the kind of thing where students had to communicate about how to design. They were also collaborating on the best ways to build this village and kind of spacing themselves out in this space. And here was one of the creations. When we launched this with 6th grade girls last year, we had one student who raised her hand and asked if it was okay if she built a Japanese pagoda, because she'd had experience with Minecraft and she designed several different Japanese pagodas, and she wanted to demonstrate her expertise with that. So here's a photograph of the Japanese pagoda she built, and so novice builders were building alongside her. We're kind of amazed at how quickly this Japanese pagoda went up. Here are just a few snapshots from a server that's called Crafted Movie. So some of the ways students engage in this is open servers online, invite players to jump in. And so these are screenshots from a server where as many as 300 kids will log in and they build these villages themselves. And the interesting thing also when you jump into this server, which is called the Crafted Movie server, is that the first thing you encounter are norms and rules that the students have set themselves for participation in this server. And so here are some of the designs that students have made building these villages in Crafted Movie. Now here, lastly, is a little Adobe house that I have built working with my daughter in Minecraft. And so you can see that, in this case, the desert is right next to the jungle. So I'll end with my Adobe house.
Great. Thanks so much, Joe. That was really great. I have a question about Minecraft. So do you have to earn building materials, or how does that work? Do you have to find them?
So it depends on which version you play. So if you play survival, then you have to go out and you have to mine for everything that you want to subsequently build with. But if you play in creative mode, you have access to all kinds of materials. And actually, when educators look at it, they really compare it to like other design programs that are used by architects, and because students have to navigate through a menu of these resources and tools. So it's actually sophisticated software that's presented in a game, and they can use most any materials they want to build in creative mode.
And then, what kind of classes or subjects are you seeing Minecraft specifically connected with?
Well, any class with computer access, what I find is teachers start to ask how they can better incorporate it into their instruction because students want to go there so often. So certainly computer labs at the middle school level, it's a question we get quite a bit. At the same time, I've heard of English teachers talking about using Minecraft and kind of design-specific writing as ways to get students to present nonfiction writing, whether they're going to plan what they're going to build or they have to travel around a Minecraft world and then argue why they've chosen the best place to settle as a player in the game.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to see this sort of getting its way into schools because, you know, I remember just 2 years ago there was a lot of resistance to Minecraft in terms of, from what I saw, being integrated into an education context. It was more of like seen as, you know, oh, the kids are doing that on the side, they're doing it at home, but it's really great to see it now being integrated.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks, Joe, for covering Pixton. Remember, that was the comic builder tool. Animoto was a digital, you could use it for digital storytelling or multimedia creation tool, and then Minecraft. So check those out. We're going to transition to Andrea. And Andrea is going to also share 3 tools. And some of these you've reviewed on Graphite. The one is Hackosaurus, which I'm actually really interested to see that one. Prezi, which I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with Prezi, but they may have not actually used it per se. And then VoiceThread, which is an awesome tool. So take it away, Andrea.
All right, thank you, Kelly. And this is a hard act to follow for me because I'm a Minecraft fan, and so I will do my best. So I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen here, and I have the Hackosaurus stuff up. Can you guys see it?
Yes.
Great. So here's the Hackosaurus website, and I love this little Hackosaurus lady. And basically the idea behind Hackosaurus is actually this idea of a hack jam as well. And so basically Mozilla has developed this free tool for students and teachers and regular old people to come and sort of learn the structure of the web. So the way that I've encountered Hackosaurus is in terms of the synchronous hack jam, where generally we're in a room together, everybody's on their own laptops, and they're playing around with the tools associated with Hackosaurus. So one of the ones that people like the most is this thing called the X-ray goggles, and I'm actually just going to turn this on. It's a browser extension that works with the Mozilla Firefox browser. And you see now when I'm paging over the screen, it highlights the elements, and the code, the HTML code for this element is also noted in this little black box in the corner here. So you'll see that as I page over different elements, it's showing me the HTML code. And one of the newest things that they've been doing is they also have this little gray box down here at the bottom that tells you what that element is. So it gives you more information. Now once I click on it, I can actually change what this element is displaying. So here's more about the HTML source code, and this is over here what you see. And now what I can do is I can go in here and actually look at the code, and then I can change the links that are here. I can change the text. So I'm going to change this text here and say, now you'll see that I've changed the text, and then I can actually click Commit Changes. And when I look at the web page, I see that I've changed it. And then finally, students can publish their new version, and share it with others. So some of the hack jams we've done in the National Writing Project, here's ones that I did with a hack jam last year or the year before. But it shows how this particular person, Troy Hicks, changed the Fox News website to parody images. And so this was a BP parody image, and this is a Fox News parody image. And so it really can talk about not only this idea of learning how to code, but also playing with the very structure of the internet and showing students, especially when I was teaching high school, had a hard time believing that websites weren't infallible sometimes. And so basically what happened then is that they can see that, you know, these are put up by people, And these art can be fallible, and things can be muted and changed. And so there is a little bit of like media literacy that can go along with the Hack Jam, even beyond just the very basic creation of making websites. And the other thing is that the rest of the web making tools that Mozilla has provided allow students to not only remix web pages, but remix video, or actually build a website from scratch. So it really is putting the internet in the hands of regular folks, including students, to really get them to understand what's underlying the structure of the internet that we all surf every day. So I have the links to some of the NWP's different ways that they've done hack jams here, and it's really a thing to sit down, spend a Friday night just sitting and playing with yourself. So I'm going to move on to the next tool, which is Prezi. And Prezi is familiar to most people as this sort of, it's basically most people use it for presentations. So Prezi, for people who aren't familiar with it, is called the zooming presentation. So if you've seen it, people are zooming in and out of images, and basically you can embed all different kinds of images, multimedia, you can embed video in there, and Prezi has a really nice community around it, so you can actually build Prezis with different people. And they also have this kind of social aspect to the Prezi website where you can explore other people's Prezis, and so that you can see how different people are understanding the way that Prezi can be used. One of the ways that I have seen Prezi being used in addition is that people beyond just sharing public Prezis for presentations are using them for like mind mapping activities, because when you go into Prezi you just get this big blank canvas. And I'm going to transition to a mind map version of Prezi. So if I can get this to start here, that students can then use the Prezi to map out connections between various ideas, and even be embedding YouTube videos that support their understanding, or images that support their understanding, beyond just this idea of a presentation of facts, or as a PowerPoint alternative. So here's the mind map that I created for myself, because I'm also, even though I'm a teacher, I'm also a student. So I was trying to learn all the different connections between different motivational theories, and so here I'm putting little notes to myself, and also drawing arrows between different concepts, and listing the various, this is my big problem with Prezi, is that it always zooms in on me. That I can also put in the little notes to myself, and I have, like, for me, because I have to know the journal articles, I have the journal articles here. But instead of journal articles, students could put in, like I said, a YouTube clip or an image to help them understand the ways that these connections are made. Prezi is a nice option if you're kind of sick of the way that PowerPoints are going. Because it's just a little bit different way to think through the linear PowerPoints. The one drawback that people do have with Prezi is that because you can like flip the thing around and you're zooming all over, is that especially if you have like a big interactive whiteboard, for example, it can make you a little seasick. So that's the only thing, is the bigger the Prezi gets, the more likely you are to feel a little dizzy. But that's really the only drawback. And the other nice thing about Prezi is they've just added, within the last year or so, the ability to also collaborate on Prezis. And then the last tool I wanted to talk about was VoiceThread. And VoiceThread is, I think, a little bit more underground just because they have a pay version. And so you don't hear about it quite as often as maybe the other tools because they have free educational versions. But I think VoiceThread's a really powerful tool. And what I've linked to here is the library in VoiceThread, in which people have posted their VoiceThread projects for different uses, from ESL, general education, to different foreign language, science classes. There's a lot of different options here, mathematics, for people to get some idea of how to use Prezi within their own domain or content area. So Prezi starts with the idea of starting with an image, and then students are allowed to go through and add different comments and understandings to that image. So the nice part about VoiceThread is that you actually get the chance to comment with your voice. So it's really great for certainly younger learners. I have, here is a, I don't want to talk over her, but this is Grace Desler talking about a project they did with students, little guys who were talking about the history of the Japanese internment camp. And here you can see in this movie, and I'll make it bigger, the sort of VoiceThread interface. And so you have this image in the middle, and in this case they used the children's images, the artwork that they made within this project of, they had a class visitor coming to talk about the Japanese internment camps who had experienced the internment camps himself. And so the students made these artworks, and then they commented to one another via their voice through VoiceThread. VoiceThread also has other ways to comment, so you can comment by drawing on it, you can comment via text, and so, but the power of VoiceThread comes with the voice. And one of the nice things I like about VoiceThread too is that students can be given a phone number, and if they don't have internet access at home, they can even call in with their ideas if they have viewed it prior. So that's another way that you can get kids involved in sort of the beyond the text-based traditional classroom tools. And again, this VoiceThread library is really helpful. You can see that they have lots of different discussions of how the VoiceThreads were used, and they also have detailed descriptions of these different projects, so teachers can pick that up and use that for their own inspiration as they move forward with their students. So those are my 3 tools.
Great, thank you so much, Andrea. I just want to say a couple things about each of those tools. The first, Hackasaurus, man, that is awesome, and I am super excited to check that out because I think there's a lot going on around coding and whether we should be teaching students how to code, and this is sort of a starting point maybe to get into that and sort of demystify the internet, you know, that it's not just, you know, that it's actually a series of code that puts everything together. And then, you know, on Prezi, I didn't realize you could collaborate and collaborate on the Prezis. You know, one thing about Prezi, and I don't know if any of you have done one, but it's really easy to get sucked in and like just lost in the Prezi,
Yes.
and which can be a good or bad thing. But I like the non-linear aspect of it because I really do think it helps you for mind mapping what you talked about. Think about connections in a way that's not linear, and it's really open to do that because you just have an open page where you can make connections in a variety of ways. And then, so for VoiceThread, and I've been familiar, that's been around quite several years, with sort of the same interface. But and I didn't know that students could actually call in and leave a comment that way. Do you know, I mean, do students have to log in? Is it easy for them to be able to share? Do you have the call-in? Are there other options?
The thing is with VoiceThread is that it's very funneled to the teacher. So the teacher sets up the account, and then the students are given access to a VoiceThread through that. So there's some of the privacy issues you're not concerned about, or terms of service issues, because they have to be a certain age. So that's why you see a lot of elementary students using that, because it's a very sort of closed down system. You're going to use it within your classroom. So that's really how it's working. And that's what, I mean, it used to be free, and so people complained a lot when VoiceThread went to a pay, but I think, you know, to keep that sort of sense of security, that's what they provide you, and they give you a lot of support that way.
Excellent. So that was really great, and you actually brought the example of Gail Dessler, who I'm familiar with, and she's Gail. If you haven't checked her out, check out Digital ID, where she basically it's around digital citizenship, but she does a lot around VoiceThread, not only for digital citizenship, but for social justice issues. And so that was a really great example. And you're right, even the very young kids can comment and add their voice to a voice thread. So thanks for sharing that. So I think, I hope you're inspired, because I sure am, to maybe try out one of these tools. It's back to school, right? We're all thinking about new things we want to do and new tools we want to try. So I hope you're inspired to use one or more of these tools. And again, you can find them on graphite.org under the top picks list called Great Tech. Let me make sure I have it. It's Great Tech production tools, and it should be in the chat feed as well on the right. But again, I want to thank all of our presenters today, Andrea, Aaron, and Joe. Thank you so much for taking the time to share how you've used these tools, how you've seen them used, and thanks for also sharing, your perspectives. You're all reviewers on Graphite, so we really encourage you all to join Graphite. I'm going to do my little spiel here. Graphite.org, and you can register for free and join the community and really share best practices and not only what you think about these tools, but how you're using them in the classroom. So thanks again to Educator Innovator for inviting us to present today, and I encourage you all to go out and try some production-centered learning. So thanks, everybody, and this webinar will be recorded and archived on Educator Innovator, so you can check it out or share with your colleagues as well. So have a great day.
Thanks, Kelly.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Kelly.
Bye.
Bye.